Recording. And it's 7:03. I'll call the meeting to order. And our first item on of business is to amend if necessary and then accept the agenda. Does anyone have any items to add to the agenda? And if not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
I so move.
Okay, I got Carol and I got Wendy. And all in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Are any opposed? And seeing none, that motion carries. And the next item on the agenda is to amend if necessary and then accept the minutes from our last regular meeting, which was on May 8th. And does anyone have any amendments to make to those minutes?
I have one thing. At the bottom of the second page, in the FPOCD, it says that Job reported at Northwest Hills Council of Government. It was Jean who reported that.
Oh, okay. All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. So, with that amendment, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Uh-oh, we lost Wendy again. Thanks, Carol. I'll second it. Mike will second it. All in favor, please raise your hand. And are any opposed? And seeing none, the motion carries. So hopefully Wendy will come back on. Liddy, who is not here yet, sent along a treasurer's report. I can share it up on the screen. So we have a look-see. Okay, so here is Liddy's treasurer's report. As you can see, in the last month, she went ahead and, excuse me, made the correction for the Arbor Day tree, so it comes out of our budget as we discussed at the last meeting. And there's also reflected a reimbursement of $150.43 from the Chamber of Commerce, which was for the bags for the town cleanup. Hold on, I'm sorry, I'm distracted because I think Wendy's in the waiting room. So let me move this toolbar if I can. I can't. See if I can get her in. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or observations about the treasurer's report? And then I'll just click into the report on the Kuga Fund. So if you've taken a look at this before, you know that it just runs chronologically. And right now we're showing a balance of $10,824.72 in the Kuga Fund, with the addition of the Arboretum, bringing it to a total of $11,212.59. Someone else is in the waiting room that I assume is going to be Liddy. Let's see. And does anyone have any questions about that report? Oh, and here she is. We can let Liddy answer any questions. Hi, Liddy. Hold on, just getting her connected. Hi. We were just reviewing the reports that you so helpfully sent earlier today.
Oh, good. Okay.
And does anyone have any questions for Liddy on the Kuga Fund report? You know, and again, you can see, or I thought I saw it before. Yeah, you can see up here, you know, the credit due to the 369 for this year's Arbor Day planting coming out of our budget, our normal budget for KCC.
Actually, there's a slight discussion that I'm having with Barbara because she put that in as 349 and there was a $20 charge for the mulch. That obviously has to be in there as well. I'm sure she'll agree with me, but we're still discussing it.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope you'll get that reconciled. I'm sure you will. Okay, any other comments on the treasurer's report? And we will wrap up this fiscal year at the end of this month.
Right. Although in the past, we have been able to if we had any expenses during June, we've been able to get them in, in the July meeting, but I'm not anticipating any. I don't think any of you are either.
Yeah, I don't know that we will have any, and if anyone does, please make an effort to get them to Liddy and the town as soon as possible so everything can get all sewn up for their fiscal year end. All right, great. Thank you, Liddy.
No problem.
I'm going to stop sharing. Next item on the agenda is public comment, and let the record reflect that there are no members of the public here tonight. So we will move into old business.
But I see Marty is here. Is that
Marty?
Marty's not public?
Marty is, but he's actually here as an invited guest to talk with us about discussion item 6C. So
Okay, fine.
Marty,
Wanted to make sure. Okay.
yeah. Marty, would you like to make a comment about anything else before we get to that item?
Just to say hi, everybody. It's good to see everybody.
Hi, Marty.
How you doing, Mike? No, beautiful day. You guys must be ordering up some nice weather. I like that. No, we're good. No, I'm just here to answer any questions and enjoy the meeting.
Do we need to move 6C up to the beginning of 6?
Well, we kind of already did I forgot to do that.
Yeah.
Would have been a
Well, I
nice
mean,
thing to do.
we can still do it. I mean, it doesn't have to be officially.
You know, and
approved.
I don't know that it's a bad idea if Marty's on during our discussion of the next item, which is the Save As You Throw. So, and I'm also seeing the agenda, the review participation in KLT. Oh, I remember why that is connected with Save As You Throw. Let's do pollinator pathway before street trees, Yost, but let's move to the materials management agenda item, since we have a big change coming to the transfer station in the next month. So that's really it. We have a big change coming to the transfer station in the next month. The Board of Selectmen have approved a plan to continue the pilot program of removing organics from, and then trying to move into I guess a place where it's more equitable, where people are actually paying in accordance with their use of the transfer station. And so the way that they're going to do this is that there will be a cost to to be involved in the transfer station to begin with. So there'll be a membership cost, which is flat. And then on top of that, people can opt to participate in the organics program and get the bags, so that helps them to remove some of the heaviest waste from their trash. And they also will buy a certain number of bags to go along with their transfer station permit. And the number of bags impacts the cost of the bags. So basically you pay for a certain number. It's all laid out on the town's website, helping people to estimate what their use is going to be and what number of bags they should buy. Should you run out, you can buy more. for people who typically create a large volume of trash. There are two sizes, so you can buy a 15-gallon or you could buy a 32-gallon bag. So there's a lot of options that are available. And I think that the town has been really great in working something like that out so that it really does feel, at least to me, like like there are a number of choices that you can get something that is suitable to you as a user. I did take the liberty of calling up that webpage on the town's website just to be able to give us all a quick look at that. And so you'll see here, if I can move my cursor, which is dubious, that here I am. In the town's website. I found the link, I think, on the homepage, so it's prominently displayed at the moment. There's information about where to get your bags, how they're going to get them distributed to people. There's an application for the transfer station permit. I haven't looked at, but assume it's pretty similar to what we've had in the past, keeping track of who the people are who buy permits and where they live. And then there's lots of information about the different options that people have to buy their bags.
Connie, I have a question. Wendy here. Is the size of the bag? I mean, if you need a very large bag, I presume that there's some kind of equity in that. It's not that you just threw two smaller bags in. You're paying for just a larger quantity on a regular basis. It reflects somehow the cost to disposing of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
Wendy, you can see here that if you buy a 13-gallon like a kitchen-sized bag, you get 52 bags for $65. If you're a large volume user and you want that 32-gallon kitchen bag, then the same 52 bags are going to cost you $130.
But if that person buys those larger bags and doesn't fill it, they still are going to be paying. I mean, that's okay with me, but they're going to be paying for a larger volume to be disposed of, whether they use it or not.
Well,
That's correct.
personally, I think that if I thought I was a large volume user and bought 52 bags that were 32-gallon size, found myself not using that much on a regular basis, I might buy 13 bags.
Yeah, no, I'm all for it. I think it's fine.
And then the weeks that I was a small volume user, I would discard a 13-gallon bag. And the weeks that I thought I might have more trash, let's just say I'm somebody who's, not a full-time resident, but, I was going to have my whole family over for a certain week. And so knew that there would be a lot of trash. I'd use my 32-gallon bag that week.
Good. I want to compliment whoever wrote the whole information. I thought it was very well put on the website. Very clear.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if you could also buy some individual large bags. Like if you want to empty out your garage and you suddenly have a lot of stuff, and you want just a couple of large bags, what do you do then? You don't want to buy a whole roll.
Right. We're gonna try to do. We'll see about the individual bags. Probably that would be done with Rick at the transfer station. But we also let everybody know that if you do purchase the bags and you don't use them all up this year, you'll be able to roll them over to next year. Just like this year, if you have any of the orange bags that were part of last year's program, those bags are still in use for this year. So no one's going to be penalized if they end up buying some extra bags or something. But the 32-gallon bags we thought were important for folks like them who have a garage or a workshop and they don't fill it up all the time, but they have some scraps and stuff from, whether they do some kind of, I don't know, guess what, work in a garden and they have some things left over from there, or they do some crafts or something and it takes them a couple weeks to fill it up maybe. or in a garage. I know my garage, I use a 32-gallon bag and I fill it up probably once a month, maybe with stuff I work out in the garage up. So that's kind of what those are for. And then we do have contractors in town for the 55-gallon bags that do, do some work. They do some construction work or something or whatever. So we'll fill those bags up and we'll be able to have a chance for them to turn those in as well. But yeah, I think we're going to try to, keep it on a roll, but I'm sure if something needed a bag or two, we could work out something. Rick would work out something. He's pretty amenable. So.
Are there still people in the village center who collect leaves in garbage bags and take them wherever, to the transfer station, or what happens with that?
Did that happen before?
Well, I'm wondering if that's happening, because how do people in the village get rid of their leaves if they don't have much property there? They don't have a compost pile. What do they do with it now? And what?
I mean, that can't create that much leaves. If you don't have that much property, then you
Well,
don't have that much leaves.
If you have one tree on your property, I remember Ed Epstein was complaining about the tree on his property giving so many leaves, he didn't know what to do with it. And so I wonder what happens and what's going to happen with that.
Well, we're not supposed to use like grass clippings or leaves or things like that. I'm supposed to go into the garbage. I know when we asked about that, I remember asking about that question. It seems like about months ago when we started this program. There were some indications, and this I'm not sure of, Yost, but I'll check on it. That some of the contractors, landscapers, and so on would accept that. They have places where they dump or compost the leaves themselves on larger pieces of maybe a property or something that they have, and that those people would be amenable to picking up lawn waste. That's a good program, a good question, and I'll check that out so we get a definitive answer for everyone. So it's a good point.
I mean, the other thing is too that it's probably healthier for your lawn if you just shredded the leaves on top of it, rather than collecting them and putting them into plastic. Okay, well, Marty, we're excited for it.
Yeah, thanks.
Been a long
Yeah.
time coming, and it is great. And we are here to support its rollout. So let us know if we can be helpful in helping to spread the message and endorsing it, or creating signage, or whatever it is that you might need to help get it launched.
We appreciate it. I know Lynn and Glenn have been great. They were at the farmers market last weekend, and they were had the table at the Land Trust picnic, trying to get out the information. They've been really, really helpful and really proactive in trying to do that. So we'll let you know. We'll see how it is. The bags haven't arrived yet. I think most of you know it's like we're scheduled to have them on the 15th of next week. We're hoping it's the 15th. We plan on having extra time and a table set up in the town hall to provide people with those. And we're also going to be for those that do have to drop off things at the say bulky waste or whatever, or the bags themselves. We will have a kind of a squares thing for a debit or a credit card. I think it's debit card is what we're looking at right now, I think. Or credit card, either one. But we're trying to do that as well. So sometimes people show up and they have something to throw up, and it costs a few dollars, and they don't have it. So hopefully they'll have a credit card or something, and we can use that as well, just to try to make it a little more accessible for people.
Great.
I
Will,
just think.
will there be a way for us to get 6 months from now or a year from now, a comparative cost analysis on how this all works out?
Absolutely. HRA has been wonderful. Jen Heaton-Jones, she's tracking every penny on this program. This is, as we said, it's the continuation of the pilot program. We requested some additional grant money from the state to help cover the cost. And I think you all hit it out. It does cost a bit per bag, per tonnage, and the tip fee is gone up quite a bit for distribution. We're lucky in a sense that one of our areas is the trash to energy program in Bridgeport, but we do have to find other places to put the trash that's able to be used and appropriately disposed of. So it costs a little bit more to do that, but yeah, we'll have a breakdown. We should be able to do it as we go along, I think, but certainly we'll have something at the end of the year, Wendy, to
Thank you.
compare. You guys
Yeah,
have done,
that'll be very
yeah.
I
soon,
just
yeah.
wanted to, I just wanted to say that, I mean, this whole thing is so positive. I mean, it's good for the town. We're also hoping that when people realize that they're paying for volume, that maybe it'll encourage more people to recycle and to get things out of the volume. We're also hoping that they will do the food scraps. So it's not just good for the town financially. The hope is that it's really good for the environment. So it's just great. Change is hard.
Yeah,
I think to counter some of the negative comments that were flying around on Facebook, I mean, the main point that people have to understand is that they're paying for the volume. And it's just a change. And that's, you know, without getting lost on how much per bag and do we have to have the bags, whatever. It's just the whole idea that you pay for what you throw. And that's the main thing.
yeah, you're right, Carol. Thank you for those words. And you're right. It change is hard, but it's gonna be worse if we didn't go at least to this direction. You know, we'd be in worse shape down the line.
Oh, yeah.
You guys have been great. Everybody really, you know, we've had I have to say, Andrea Shaney did a great job on Facebook. I did follow some of the comments, and she was spot on with the information. So it saved us a lot of back and forth. And it did spur us to try to get out more information and reach out to more people. But yeah, it's been it's been pretty interesting. Some of the comments people have come to the office and hit with Joyce and myself just today were a little interesting, but yeah, anyway. But the thing to remember that we do, is that once you purchase a bag, you're going to be able to use that bag no matter what. We will change colors like everything else, so we can keep up with things. But yeah, if you've got a bag with the town seal on it, you'll be able to use that bag whenever. So yeah, it won't run out.
What happens to the enormous amount of cardboard that we get? Is that gonna go in the bags? How do we
No,
measure
it
that?
won't.
That's
No, that
single
doesn't go in the
stream,
bag. That goes in
Wendy.
the recycling. It
Yeah.
goes in-
Oh, so it's not counted in any of these bags. It just
Well,
continues.
Yeah, hopefully they won't put it in the bag. I mean, if we notice it in the bag, we'll try to tell people we can do that in the recycling versus put it into the solid waste, municipal solid waste. We don't prefer that they put the recycling in there. But if it's in the bag and we don't see it, then again, we're not going to be opening bags to check on people. We're not doing spot checks. That's not the plan. But we'll do the encouragement of people, letting them know, don't put your cardboard in there. That's part of recycling, and we have the big compactor and all that to help that. Rick is
Yeah,
pretty
I know
good.
Wendy knows that. Wendy, I know you do that every single week. You remove your recyclables from your trash. You don't
Oh, yeah,
put,
but when you go to Costco, they load you up with cardboard cartons. You could leave them behind in the baskets there. You don't need to bring them home.
Right.
And if they become a problem here, I just as soon urge all the public not to bring home cartons if they don't need them. I'm not talking about new stuff. I'm talking about all the cartons that you get at the liquor store or wherever it is. If you can turn it back to the place where it came from, that's that much less that we have to deal with and pay for.
One of the things we do encourage, I know some of we're selling our house on Elizabeth Street, and we're moving to the next house over on Elizabeth Street. We're downsizing quite a bit. So all those cardboard boxes you're talking about, Wendy, I think are sitting in my living room right now, getting ready to be filled with things to move, 50 feet over to the next house. But one of the things we're going to try to
use
do
the same box like 300.
Oh yeah, we absolutely, we're using the same box over and over again, absolutely. And we're going to give those boxes, break them down again, and offer them to people for again to move. And it really just takes a little bit of tape and so on to reuse them. Yeah, we've done that. We have a lot of reusable boxes that are sitting around here, and so on. So,
all right, folks, I think I'm going to move us on. Just to debrief a little bit, the Kent Land Trust picnic, as Marty alluded to, it was actually Jean Speck and Jen Heaton Jones came and did a table under the tent, and that was primarily outreach to residents about this new thing coming down the pike and what the program was going to be, and answer questions. And Jean, true to her word, really helped to collect food scraps at the picnic, which was a first. So, she had people scraping off their plates into a trash bag. And at the end of the picnic, she took that away and brought it to the transfer station for composting. So I'm sorry that she's not here so that I'll give her, a personal thanks, but, deserves some mention because we hadn't really figured out how to implement that in the past. So I appreciate her work that day. We also had Wendy and Liddy at a table with our trails books and, again, just interfacing with the community on the commission's behalf. So do you guys want to talk about how that went for you?
If you want to sell something, have Wendy on your team. She would snag everyone who went by and say, you need to have one of these.
Yeah, I have a
So-
long hook. It's like at the Apollo Theater where you pull the actor off the stage. Yeah. We
It
did
was
all right.
fun. It was good.
I just wanted to get back to what Jean did with the food scraps. I mean, as an educator, you teach not just by what you say, by what you do. And the fact that she actually did that really brought that message so much further. I
And
had
I
given
wonder-
her the board. I had given her the board that I had made. And I don't know, I also gave her everything to do the activity with the kids. I don't know if she ever did that or not, where they had to circle what could be composted. I don't know.
I can't be certain. I mean, it was really, I will say it was really helpful to have them right under the tent because, and we did that in some ways because of the terrible forecast that day. But also, she was right there as people were eating.
Terrific.
So it was much easier to make a connection. So I did see that the board was up. Carol, I've got photos of it, so I know it was there. And I don't know specifically if they did the children's activity.
I think what we
Also,
might
it's
try
something
to
we can
do,
always repeat again for adults or children in some other venue, so.
another year, I wonder if we could have a volunteer stand at some of the waste basket, the containers, and suggest that people scrape their plates into the recycling before they put them into the waste cans. Because there's an awful lot of food that didn't get scraped.
I'm sure that's true. I don't know how much pressure we want to put on people hanging over them. But I will say that Melissa made a sign that was placed prominently in the center of each table. In fact, I think there were 2 laminated signs on each table telling people, please save your, food scraps and scrape them over by the HRA table. So people were advised of it, whether or not they did it, nobody was really doing that hard of encouraging. But hopefully they saw the sign, they thought about it, and at least some of them actually did it because Jean had quite a bit to take to the transfer station at the end.
It's a process.
Change is hard.
And I think a lot of people really did eat their food, actually. I heard it was pretty good. That food was from the IGA, so thanks to them. Anything more on the picnic before we move on? Okay, all right, so we're gonna move into, we're just gonna skip ahead by 1 letter and we'll come back to the street tree program. But let's talk a little bit about the pollinator pathway resolution. And I did ask Marty to join us tonight so that we could review that together. In particular because No Mow May is still fresh in our minds. And also because Marty, this resolution was passed before you were in office, so it just seemed like a good idea to go through that with you. So, we could have a little dialogue about what it says and what that means with respect to how the town manages its own lands. So I'm going to put that up on the screen. And so let me get to sharing again. Bear with me for 1 moment. Okay, again, this is the resolution that I pulled right off of the town website. And it was passed back in, oh look, but 2022. There's a lot of preamble language, which actually comes from models that were drawn off of the Pollinator Pathway website, which kind of encompasses all of the different towns in Connecticut and New England, actually, where pollinator pathway efforts are made. Just to back up for a moment, the Pollinator Pathway Initiative, I guess, if you want to call it that, is really all based in the idea that native plants, which support our native insects, which then support our native birds, and on a, through the ecological system, are best suited for plantings, and that we need more of them in order to make sure that we support and continue to support a diverse spectrum of species here in our towns when they're so threatened by many things, including not only climate change, but also the different herbicides and pesticides that people use in landscaping traditionally that kill them. So this pollinator pathway resolution is kind of grounded in those theories. And this is what we ended up passing. So as you can see, what it says is that the town recognizes and supports tenets of the Pollinator Pathway Northeast Initiative, which encourages the residents and the municipality to refrain from broadcast spraying of herbicides. And if herbicides are indicated, to make sure that manual application is used, that's limited to a minimum. I don't know how common it's been, Marty, for the town to use herbicide spraying, broadcast spraying. I don't know if currently there's any herbicides used at all in our management. Do you know?
There are not. There's none in use as current. There's no indication, talking to Rick and the guys and Bruce Bennett and so on. Just recently, there's been none used this year. There was no plan for any use of them. We haven't, again, in keeping with the tenet of this, we have not had any plans to use any of the herbicides or pesticides or so on.
So that would include like Roundup.
Correct.
Yeah.
None that I'm aware of. None that I'm aware of using.
Sorry, I think
No,
the
it's-
state does use it on some of the state roads.
I know the state uses it on the state roads. I think the town does some on the roads. So that might be something to follow up with. I know that last year there was some application around storm drains. I think that there might have been areas of knotweed sprayed. So maybe something to just check back into. Vegetation control is a big one for any road crew, because of course they have safety in mind and they want to make sure that sight lines are preserved, that there are open sight lines. They want to make sure that drainage works. It would be not very useful to have storm drains that were clogged with vegetation. This particular resolution would just indicate that if there were herbicides used, that they be manually applied. You could mow also would be an alternative to that. But see what you might find. The town was mowing on my road today. So, that seems perfectly in line with this resolution. And it would just be, thinking about whether there was any spraying going on that we would be interested in partnering on.
The state also does it behind guardrails where they can't do roadside mowing. So there they spray.
Why can't they do mowing?
Because of the guardrail.
Why can't
Yeah.
they use that, you know, that thing that goes, that reaches behind? They could do that.
Yeah, if you have a separate, one of those things that go over the top, that would work.
The articulated mower. Yeah, I'll check on that. And that, and even if, I know that I've talked to Rick about what you were saying, Connie, regarding sight lines, and that's the important thing that I'm more worried about than even mowing some of the areas. If we can avoid mowing, you know, that's fine too, and leave things in a natural state. That's my plan, or at least my recommendation to Rick. And of course, safety is always paramount. But it's the corners, it's the sight lines going through, and even we haven't really done a lot of that yet. If you notice, even in town, working with the state and us. The sidewalks, some things are overgrowing there. But yeah, we can even hand weed whacking, things like that around to make sure that the guardrails are noticed. That's the other part, make sure they don't get overgrown so people don't think they're there, forget they're there and go banging into them. We don't want that. But yeah, I'll check on that, and I also check on the any use of the herbicides, you know, such as Roundup and so on. But I'm not aware we've been using anything extensively, but I'll check on that.
Yeah, and mowing the roadsides is probably not going to be an issue. I mean, that's, you know, I mean, maybe some people prefer a natural look. I don't know, but most of the vegetation along our roadsides in Kent is invasive species. So there's on my road, there's a fair amount of stilt grass, and please mow that. You know, there's actually, you know, pretty good argument for mowing a lot of that down. You know, in contrast to No Mow May, which is really about letting some of the early weeds of the year flower so that there's a food source for insects, you know, prior to the blooming of some of the native plants. I would say that No Mow May is really more about awareness. And it certainly is eye-opening if you let your lawn grow during the month of May, because it turns into a flower field. So I think where No Mow May is concerned, we would be more interested in what the town does in its maintained areas like lawns. So, you know, that would be, you know, the area around the visitor center, the area around town hall, and all of that. That we can skip down to that is the first bullet on the second page, which is celebrate and implement No Mow May by delaying mowing of municipally managed lawn areas until June 1st or later, if you want to. And, you know, not only that, but to tell the town, tell residents what you're doing by having signs. And at our last meeting, Marty, on May 8th, we talked about how the Conservation Commission could support the purchase of signs that would, you know, be used by residents who elect to participate in No Mow May. The town already owns I don't remember if it's 5 or 10 No Mow May yard signs, which are downstairs in the basement.
Yeah, a lot of that is I guess a lack of some of the outgoing or outward support for No Mow May. I'll take on me because I didn't find those signs until later. I probably should have asked more people. But when we were moving some of the Park and Rec stuff around towards the end, I found more of the signs stored downstairs. Probably should have asked you guys where they were. But yeah, so some of that where the signage wasn't put out was I'll take the hit on not having paid more attention to that, to be honest with you. Yeah, so
I don't think the town, excuse me, I don't think the town actually did No Mow May.
In the back of the town hall, we didn't do it in the front of the town hall. We were doing some of the moving some of our rhododendrons and so on to expand and open up the front door a little bit for security and also reasons. But we did redo the initiative. So yeah, they did some mowing in the front, but I believe that the back was left. Some of the back anyway was left unmown for most of May anyway.
I think the village, you know, the Welcome Center also got mowed.
Yeah, that did. Yeah, it was mowed as well, yes.
But in contrast to this, I think it's good and important that all the grass around the playground gets mowed because of, I mean, this year was an incredible year for ticks. So sometimes you have to make a decision, you know, that's an area where the kids are running around. You know, there has to be some exceptions sometimes.
Yeah, Carol, I mean, I think that's really, like, that's not the town, that's the school that's mowing there. I mean,
No,
I would,
the playground by the tennis courts.
backhand comments. I mean, ticks are gonna be there whether the grass is long or not. You know, I mean, and there's just some new research out earlier this week about how most of the ticks are on the margins of the lawn where it meets the forest. I don't know if, you know, your experience bears that out. Mine doesn't necessarily, but that is what this new paper says. Ticks are a concern, and playgrounds are probably better mowed anyway, just in terms of their purpose, which is for people to
So that's
enjoy.
what I'm saying. I mean, if the town has the philosophy, again, there can be some wiggle room in terms of decisions of things like that.
Yeah, I
But
mean, it
the
might be
overall
interesting
philosophy
to
is there.
just, it might be interesting for the town to try it, because I don't think that it has in the years since we adopted this resolution. So, you know, really, it's just almost like, try it, see what happens, and, you know, just kind of be amazed by that and see what your reactions are. I mean, there's so much to No Mow May that is more about just kind of challenging your perceptions of what you expect to see and what you see as healthy, which really isn't so much, which is really more about what we've been conditioned to think of as beautiful over time, and what we're starting to back away from as a society, now that we know that lawns are pretty much food deserts for insects and birds. So, okay, so that's No Mow May, which thankfully is over for another year. However, people who are interested in kind of continuing to play with the concept of No Mow May might do things like, you know, mow pathways through a lawn that they've allowed to go a little wilder, or mow the margins, or just mow the areas where you walk. And I don't know how applicable that is to municipally owned land, but it is something that, you know, I've heard people say drunken mowing, right? You know, where you kind of have like these little pathways going through these areas that are delightfully kind of wilder with flowers. So, you know, you could think about that as a landscaping strategy. I'm going to go back up to the second bullet here, which is about using rodenticides, which have shown to be so harmful to the birds that eat the rodents that are poisoned. And so I don't know what the town does with respect to spraying like the outsides of buildings or using rodenticides, but that's kind of what that bullet is all about.
Yeah, to my knowledge, we haven't done any rodenticide spraying at all this year. I had no indication that it's necessary, to be honest with you. I haven't seen any indication or heard of anybody that we have any kind of infestation area. We do have some wasps, though I did notice that today, but that's outside the east side of the building.
Yeah, okay. So, you know, more on that. I mean, with any luck, those bait traps, the rodenticides will be banned by legislation in the coming years, now that we know how bad they are. But in the meantime, it'd be great to just have a town policy of not using those black bait traps. Next bullet is about encouraging that any new plantings would be at least 70% native. So the idea is you can have, you know, a certain amount of non-native plants, you know, for decoration or whatever, but to use and especially when replanting, to use a good selection of native plants. And also in terms of the maintenance, you know, again, kind of practicing friendlier on the ecosystem practices, like not doing a ton of deadheading and not blowing the leaves out of the beds, you know, at the end of the year. Kind of weird, right? I mean, tough to put into practice, I think, when you're used to having certain standards of maintenance, because it feels neglectful, but it really is healthy.
Now we do that in my house.
And then,
Yeah, and the
then
more
you
people do
wouldn't
it,
have bags full of leaves, because all the leaves would be in
Yeah.
your garden beds
right.
for the winter.
And the more people do it, the more normal it becomes.
Yeah.
And so at some point it will be the new normal.
So this is more, the next bullet after No Mow May is a little bit more of that, you know, making sure that your garden cleanup is not necessarily so clean. So don't do your garden cleanup in the fall. Leave, you know, long stems and flower heads to overwinter and provide food, you know, during the winter months. Don't blow the leaves out of and the debris out of your garden beds. They have many, I think it's pupa, or they have cocoons. There are overwintering insects in those leaves. And so you are basically removing them when you blow your leaves or bag your leaves for shredding or composting. So leave the leaves. We had this next one's kind of ambitious as well, which is setting a goal of decreasing lawn area around town-owned buildings by 10% this year, and replanting with native trees, shrubs, and perennials. So I don't know that any of that has happened since this was signed in April 2022. You know, it might be good to just start with a map of the lawn around Town Hall and calculate how much we think 10% of that might be, and plan a new native plant bed.
I'll talk to Joyce. I know that she's planning on doing more work around there, but I'll you know, actually she and I looked at this today, but I'll ask her if she's thought about doing that. I know she's working with Stephanie at Dig to see about some plantings. It's getting a little bit late to do some of that planning right now, but I'll check on what the plan is as well for that.
Yeah, I know Ken.
Maybe you need to think about a line item, a budget item for native plants for next year. This gets to be expensive, doesn't it?
It
Yes,
actually
10%.
decreases your costs.
we do have Wendy a little budget for work
You do.
around.
Okay.
Yeah, but it will decrease your costs over time, because you'll be spending less on maintenance. You'll be spending less on watering.
No, but I'm just saying, when you go out to buy those plants, you need the money to have it. So
Some of them may come from our own gardens too. You know, I know certain things spread really well, you know, especially the native plants, because they were, you know, they evolved to grow well here. So they're pretty hardy. And, you know, if you speak to some gardeners, you're likely to find people who have some native plants to give to you.
It's
Interesting.
The hard
It
part
is
is
important that,
to fight invasives.
I'm sorry, Yos, go ahead.
The hard part is to fight the invasives. And anytime you plant something or you dig something up, you get invasive plants. And so you have to keep going after those till your native plants have established themselves and start filling in. So it takes some maintenance to start with.
Yeah, the town did a repair on my road and there was Phragmites in the soil. Oops. So yeah, they really are everywhere. But you know, invasive non-natives really are everywhere, and we do need to pay attention to them, and they're going to show up in our flower beds, even if we're planting non-native ornamental plants. So I think your point is well taken, Yost, but not really limited to native plants.
But then it's just very timely, Marty, that that this is part of your discussion with Joyce as she proceeds.
Yeah, we're trying to, thank you. We're working on it. I'll admit, we're not there where we should be, probably, according, certainly following the resolution as much as we should be. And I don't know what has been done in the last 2 growing seasons to get us to some of this. There was not much left behind for me to go off of, but we'll continue to work with this. We definitely will.
There's some really wonderful consultants around here, in Cornwall and Kent, Sharon, who are landscaping with native plants and are, provide some great assistance with that. And now they're even growing native plants that are actually, ecotype appropriate to Northwest Connecticut, as opposed to times when native plants might have been built as such, but really come more from like the Midwest. So, nice to see the advances that have been happening here in our communities. Okay, almost through. Which is, the next bullet is about not using synthetic fertilizers or treated mulch, and leaving some areas of bare ground for ground nesting bees and other pollinators. So, here, again, is less is more, I guess, is the take home. And also that fertilizer is often not needed, and especially not when you're using native plants, which, have evolved to grow here very well. The only thing that will happen is that probably bugs will eat your plants. And so, part of this initiative is kind of a direction of us thinking about our gardens, not as things that we hope that we hope insects won't eat, but as basically food. We are growing food for our native insects and for our birds when we garden. And then finally, if the town climbs on board with this and starts to make some advances and really gets into this, and please, lean on us for help in this respect, it would be great to share those efforts out with the community so that you're modeling good behavior for our residents and showing that, that you care and are working to make our environment better.
Yeah, I think some of that certainly with the organic food recollection and eventually getting to where we create some of our own mulch and some of our own organics to go back into our community. That's certainly part of our whole process, again, with our with the food waste collection program. Eventually get something where we can keep it here and actually process it here. We're looking at that as well. That's part of it.
And, part of the message about the fertilizer is, that often the use of fertilizer contributes to nutrient loading. And so you'll get a green bloom on those rain garden and catchment areas that are all around town hall if you use fertilizer. And if you refrain from using fertilizer, you're less likely to be feeding the organisms that are going to cause that kind of overgrowth in those wet areas. So I personally remember thinking that this was a pretty ambitious resolution when we put it together, but it passed with almost no questions and with unanimous support. So I guess all I can say is we really appreciate the town's buy-in to this and want to be helpful in implementing it. So kind of welcome an ongoing dialogue with respect to these practices in municipal land management.
Yeah, a lot of it, it's ambitious, but it's not certainly untoward at all. It should be all of our objectives to get better and certainly be better stewards of our environment and where we're going. So I just, I just had, yeah, I wish that May had coincided with us trying to get our budget to pass, because I was just, I think I got too singular focused on trying to deal with a lot of the budget things and didn't dig into some of the other things that are on the calendar, like NOMO May and looking at the resolution. So, but having, had the chance to sit here tonight with you guys and go over this, it certainly reinforces that. So, yeah, I have to do a little bit better compartmentalization, I think, as we get there, and working with my fellow selectmen as well. So,
Great.
and you guys, of course, but yeah, the whole town. I'm sure Wendy, I don't know why Wendy hasn't called me. I figured she would have called me on something. She tries to now and then. So appreciate
I've been
it.
calling everybody else, complaining.
Well, yeah, I appreciate the support. I really do.
Anyone else on pollinator pathway before we move on?
I just wanted to say, I like the point you made about the water quality connection, Connie. I think sometimes that gets lost with things that people are putting on their lawns. That you get almost immediate negative water quality impacts. So that's a big reason to follow the resolution.
And also geese, if you mow around your pond and it's nice short grass, that attracts geese. If you let the vegetation grow up around your pond, that will discourage geese from coming. So
Yeah, I know that Kent Center School playground lot that's been eaten alive by the geese, the insects that they go after there. But there's some things that, even to look at that we were talking about that with Park and Rec and so on, of increasing the hedge area of natives around that that sometimes discourages the geese to come across that hedge area. I know I've been reading up on that. So there are things we can do, but there's all kinds of strategies. Geese being the big one. I don't walk my dog. Unfortunately, my dog passed, but I don't walk him down there. So he's not eating all the goose poop all the time, which is his favorite treat on that side of the thing.
And I mean, I think the connection being that, it's sort of a, it feeds off of each other, because, when you have goose poop that is all over, especially maintained lawn areas, then it often gets rinsed off down into the water bodies again. So it's, it's one of those things that exacerbates the negative impacts to water quality. More nutrient loading.
Sure.
Okay, well, Marty, you're certainly welcome to stay, but we're gonna move on to talking about our street tree program, which I hope you'll be interested to hear more about later on when we've got it all organized, because our goal is to plant some trees this fall. But at this point, we're still in the planning phases.
No, if you hear that, that's my whom the bell tolls. That tolls for me to get to. My wife just sent me a note about, have you picked out stuff that needs to go into the, the tag sale? Have you gone upstairs and gone through your clothes to do back to Goodwill? So I've got a few things to do. So I will check out from here. But I thank you for the time to be with you guys, and thank you for all the work you do. Yeah.
Well, really appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Bye-bye now. Good night now.
All right, folks, let's talk about trees. So when I read over the minutes, what I was seeing as our action item was to get the list from Bruce Bennett.
yeah, we still have to get it. I have to contact him, get a final list and see if he has updated his map further. I wanted to update it myself too, but I haven't gotten to it. I've been busy, but I really want to work at it in next month, so I have before the July meeting have something. And I did look at the 3 plaques, and so I don't know how far you want to go with that. These things typically cost at least $20 a piece, so I don't know if it's worth that. I also saw some smaller labels that were like $5, but they come in bulk. So I don't know if you can get it in bulk with 20 different names. or if they have to be all the same thing. That wasn't clear from that website.
Well, I don't think $20 is too much if we take it from the Cougar Fund. That's exactly what that's for. And if it, educates the public, I think that's money well spent.
And that would be for all the Arbor Day trees that we've planted?
Well, the Arbor Day, the trees, on Lane Street, I don't know, we don't have to do it all at once, but I think it makes walking around town and recognizing tree species useful.
Mhm.
By the way, I do have one person who put her hand up immediately when it came to paying 50/50 on a tree purchase. And I have her name. And when the time comes, on her address, I think she's down by one of the condos there. So, and I did ask the O'Meras if they'd be willing to do a testimonial on the pleasure they get on the trees that they have planted. And they do. They're wonderful looking, and 2 of them, and very vigorous. And I think they paid 50/50.
So, okay, so we're talking about 2 things here. So just to kind of separate those out, when Jos and Wendy were talking about the plaques, what they're talking about is doing something to identify the trees that we already have planted over the years. I think it would be helpful if there could be a list of those trees so we know how many of them, is it 5, is it 100? I know it's not 100, but what's the quantity we're talking about here? And then a proposal, because $20 a plaque doesn't sound like a lot to me, but if it was 100, then that's a lot. So, let's figure out what we're dealing with here and maybe have your recommendation for what the commission should do, and then we can vote on it. So
Okay.
that's the one. And as far as the fall tree planting, then unless anyone has comments on the minutes or anything that we've discussed before, I'm inclined to move on from
Yep.
that until the July meeting, when hopefully Jos has been able to get the map and the list from Bruce, which will enable us to move forward with identifying who the property owners are on the sites that he identified and populating a spreadsheet with that so that we can do our outreach.
Okay. Well, I would like to suggest that we consider putting plaques on any trees that we have added on Lane Street over the years. Make that a unit, and then be able to say in the newspaper, here's an interesting little thing you can learn. Walk up and down Lane Street from the school to the corner, and here are the trees we've planted, and here are, and find out what they are.
So I think
That
that's
would be a huge
Put
number.
that-
It would
Put that
15.
in your list and your recommendation. And remember that the genesis of this conversation about the plaques was we were recapping Arbor Day and thinking about how we could help the children to remember and learn about the trees that they'd planted. So, I'm not mad about Lane Street as an addition. I think it's a good idea. But remember that,
Well, we
first
can do it in 2
we
stages.
were hoping that it would be educational for the children at Penn Center School.
Fine. Okay.
Remember, there was, Jean was talking about making a story map and, like a GIS map that allowed people to look at where trees had been planted around town and making that a whole educational program. So this is a step in that direction. And, I have no idea if we're talking about 15 trees or 25 trees, or, it seems like the trees on Lane Street does not increase our number all that much. There's probably mostly going to be Arbor Day trees, because we've been doing that for more than a decade.
Well, I'm not really equipped to identify the tree species. That's the problem.
That's what
I can remember where most of the trees are that we planted, but I don't know what they are.
Yeah, I think
Yost can help us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
And as far as mapping the trees digitally, what program would you recommend? Or Mike, do you know, or Connie, do you know?
If it's a story map, it'll be ArcGIS,
Yeah,
which, have you seen a story map?
I've seen that, yeah.
It's nice because it incorporates maps and information.
So who here?
Jean wanted
these-
to do it.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
she
sure.
has expertise with that.
Yeah. Do you have expertise, Mike, in that?
Minimal,
Uh-huh.
slipping away as we speak.
Mhm.
I just had one thought, which is counter to everything that we've talked about, is that I hope that the people who live on Lane Street who have the trees are not going to be upset that we're bringing a lot of people to their property.
I know, I thought about that too, Carol. I thought we were just gonna put a little sign at the tree, not that we were gonna bring people through there.
I don't think
I don't-
anything's been decided, so I think that we should have Wendy and Yosa's proposal
Okay,
for discussion. It's a good point.
No, I think it'll be casual walkers.
Right, but it may,
it's very different from the Arbor Day trees at the school as an educational thing, so.
we may
let's just
decide
keep
to
it in
do it
mind.
differently. Yeah, yeah.
Good point.
Maybe I'm a little bit confused, but the only Arbor Day tree that has not been on the school campus is the one at the firehouse, right?
No,
That's right.
Last
First
year,
time.
we also planted, I think we planted twice on, like Bridge Street.
Yeah, and also on Elizabeth Street.
Yeah, they ran out of space at the school a
Oh.
couple of years back, so we've been doing them off-site since then.
So where, these are Arbor Day trees that have been planted on Elizabeth Street?
Yeah, like at Frontier, there's one planted there.
Where,
And
I'm sorry, Yos, where?
Frontier, that's the corner building of Elizabeth and Bridge Street. But on the Elizabeth Street side, that's one. And so we did one in front of the Ira's liquor store.
Right, I do
And-
remember that. I do remember that. Okay,
uh,
so those two plus the firehouse?
Firehouse, did we do another one?
I think that might be it,
Okay.
maybe 3 off-site.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe we might want to do the linden tree, that's not like somebody's house,
Where's the linden tree?
at Templeton. The one we did last
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
oh,
Right.
Oh,
the
yes,
one that the
that's,
But that's not specifically,
backtrack paid for.
but that's not
Yeah.
specifically Arbor Day.
No, it's not. So if we were gonna include like the Lane Street trees, those weren't Arbor
Yes, it
Day.
would be in that group.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
but that's not like it's in somebody's front yard. I mean, it's where it is, right by the road. It's on the way to the playground. Yeah.
I mean, if we were wildly successful and, it became like a tour, that would still be weird to be bringing a lot of people by Templeton. So I think the whole thing needs a little bit more discussion.
Okay.
I think that there's merit just in identifying the trees with the plaques. And then the idea of the educational program is kind of separate from that and might be part of the trees or all of the trees, or, we might decide to do something else. Okay, enough on trees for today.
Yep.
Let's make some progress in July. So that we are in a position to actually do some planting of up to
Honey,
12.
maybe I should inject the fact that Bruce says that, but that funding will become available in late fall. So that we might be able to do some tree planting.
Which would
then.
be, I mean, we've already voted to expend up to 1250. So
Right.
we're thinking about 5 trees.
Yeah,
And-
so we just need to keep abreast of when that money will be announced.
Right. Right, but just to be clear, we do not need that money in order to do what we are hoping to do. We could
Yeah.
just do more if it was available,
Yeah,
so
okay.
no reason not to pursue it, but if it doesn't come through, we're still gonna do this.
Okay.
Okay, okay, let's go to the updates. Green Energy Task Force.
Is that me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I am trying to get the Chamber of Commerce involved in a program for a small business. And I have Ellen Corsell coming for a little meeting with me sometime next week to try to get that going. Chamber of Commerce is very conservative, but as I sat in front of the library the other day, I was thinking of all the south-facing roofs that are on Route 7 there, and I thought maybe I should just walk up and down the street and identify the roofs that have natural capacity and then start ringing doorbells and say, hey, how about thinking about this? Because it's low-hanging fruit in a sense. But anyway, Ellen Corsell and I are going to talk next week.
Great.
That's my report.
Anything on like solar, on electric vehicles? Or is that?
I really haven't been involved with that. Marty and got to talking, and there are the question about where we're going to have a charging station. Suddenly the money ran out. I don't know what happened. A lot of towns are being asked to have special electric vehicle programs. I don't know that we need that. But what we do need is more charging stations. And only Marty knows where that meeting, what happened. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Housatonic Herbicide Working Group. I'm presuming that the bill was signed.
It was.
Good.
Yes, it was.
And then other than that, I pulled the bill to see if I could tell anything about implementation. And that's as far as I got. So
I read through it. It's a bit different from the Massachusetts one, but it had to be because Connecticut has some different regulations and it had to comply with Connecticut regulations. And it looks like a good bill. It covers all the points that were raised by the working group. And so I think it's.
and it goes into effect next year, is that right? Like, because they're supposed to file annually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did read the
Right.
text.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right.
And it passed unanimously in the committees and in the House and Senate, which surprises me.
Especially with all the lobbying that they had on the other side.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, it's great. It's great. So looking forward to seeing that put into practice. POCD. Anyone got any update?
No, I don't think anything has happened.
Moving on. Change in the chairperson position. It feels helpful to have made a decision and know our plan for July. So since our last meeting, I did correspond with Darlene Brady and with the First Selectman's office. So when you heard me talking earlier about Wendy sending a communication in order to resign from the commission, even though we accepted Wendy's decision to step down from being a full member to an alternate, she's going to do that formally by sending a written communication to both the commission and to the Board of Selectmen. So that happens first. Then we make a communication to the First Selectman to elevate Jean to being a full member. And then in July, I can formally step down so that we can elect Jean and Melissa together as the co-chairs, because the commission itself elects officers, but the appointment has to be done through the Board of Selectmen. So that the selectmen don't get involved in who gets appointed as the officers, but we do need to have those two little steps in place before we can actually make the transition.
Connie,
So
does my letter go to the selectmen or just to Marty?
You can just send it to Marty. It needs to get filed, which is why it needs to be a written communication. So I think, I can't remember what I wrote you initially, like it needs to go to me and Marty, and I think if you CC Darlene, then it's all
I'll do it tomorrow.
above. Which kind of brings me to, this is not an agenda item, but I think, Mike, did you want to make some kind of a statement?
Yes, so I am going to be resigning from the commission. This will in fact be my last meeting. I thought that I was going to be here in July, but I will not. And so one of the reasons is I'll be joining the Houstonic River Commission, or have done that. But I'm glad to have worked with you all, and
We'll miss you.
looking forward to a slightly different challenge. Yeah, thank you.
Well, we really are so grateful for your service on the commission. But even before you were on with us, you were doing work that was helpful to the commission in terms of your involvement with the Clean Air group. And we know that if you're still here in the community, you'll be working on our conservation issues. And we hope that we haven't seen the last of you as somebody who is a really helpful civic servant and volunteer. So I do want to thank you and agree with Wendy that we're going to miss you as a regular member of our meetings.
Now,
Thank
you were alternate, right?
What's that?
You were an alternate,
No, I
right?
think he was
weren't you?
full.
Full member.
I think
So
he-
then we need a new full member. So
well,
then
we
Wendy
could put
can.
Wendy.
and
Do you want to
Wendy-
be full?
No, I think I'm doing well, falling into alternate. No,
Then we're gonna be a member short.
No,
yeah, well,
I think Mike was alternate. Mike wasn't full, was he?
He was alternate.
Was he
I-
only?
Mike was
I lost the
alternate.
thread somewhere there, but I think I was elevated to being a full member last year.
I'll check on the
Well,
website.
we're assuming that Yost hasn't become a citizen in all this time.
No, yeah,
If he's legally being a citizen, we could make him a full member.
But Mike, when you're focusing on the Housatonic River Commission, if there's pieces that we could work with you on, we'd be very interested, so.
I think that's pretty likely. The wild and scenic designation for the Houstonic has created a lot of more reasons for the commission, the Houstonic River Commission, to be working with the towns more actively. So that's pretty likely, I would say.
Good luck to you.
We'll be
Thank you.
seeing you around then. That's great.
Not
Did you
going anywhere.
move from Steve Roby or?
Yeah,
Oh.
Steve Roby stepped down in the fall, so
just
essentially I'm replacing Steve.
Okay.
You guys, I've got to go. I'm sorry. I'd love to stay on, but I've got to go.
All right, Liddy, I think we're only a couple more minutes, but we'll no voting items for sure. So good
Thank you.
month. See you in July.
Okay,
Night.
guys. See you in July. Bye-bye.
Okay, so so Mike, if you would do the same as Wendy and send a email to us, to me at the commission, and to the Board of Selectmen, and CC Darlene, that would be helpful. Thank
Okay.
you. And I don't know if maybe, I just said we weren't going to vote on anything, but maybe we should just vote for good measure to accept your resignation with thanks and gratitude. So I'll make a motion to accept your resignation and to hope that you're
Okay.
not a stranger, and that we're so grateful for your service. So Carol, I'm going to take you as a second.
Yes.
And all in favor, sadly? And any opposed? We won't let you resign. Yeah, really a formality. But again, thanks.
It's been a pleasure.
And if you know of anyone who you think would be interested and helpful to us serving on this commission, please make a suggestion, because it would be good to have more people involved and to have somebody fill your vacancy.
Somebody from Kent School is so well positioned on the river there, or in the middle of town to do this. That'd be
Right.
good.
Yeah, I'll try to work on that. I can't think of anybody at the moment.
All right, we're gonna get into, I don't know why this is really new business, but anyway, the 7A, the state legislative session, which wrapped right after our last meeting. And so this is really just to put a period on what happened. And so you probably saw on the flip side of your agenda, what happened to the majority of the bills, which is they fizzled and died, including the big climate bill, which was a true disappointment to environmental advocates throughout the state. But 3 bills did get passed, including our railroad spraying one that increases or adds to the list of invasive plants that are regulated and cannot be sold in Connecticut, and then a third one on disclosure of PFAs. So I think that's it for tonight. No correspondence that I know of. And
For the record, I will be gone in July,
okay,
but since I'm an alternate, that's okay.
you're not gonna give us a tour of your home in Maine this year? It was so fun when you joined us from there. I think it was during COVID even.
Might have
but,
been.
So for next month, Connie, you're not conducting the meeting, so, but we haven't voted yet for Jean and Melissa to be the.
I think I have to do half of it.
So
I think
should I
that-
just tell me should I send the agenda to you, or should I start by sending the agenda to 2 of them? And you don't have to answer tonight. We can talk about that.
Why don't you send it to all 3 of us
Okay.
and put election of officers, put resignation and election of officers as like the second agenda item or something, so that we approve our agenda and then get right to business and I can hand over.
Okay.
All right, there being no further business before the commission, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:26.
I'll move.
Thanks, Wendy. Second. Thanks, Mike. All right, y'all, let's vote. Any all in favor? Any opposed?
Nope.
Thank
So
you
what-
so much.
What
And
if nobody seconds that?
what?
Then we don't.
We just keep meeting.
We stop. No.
Good night.
Ah.
Have a great night, everyone. Enjoy your month. See you in July, except for you, Wendy. See you.
Yeah.
Do we meet in August?
Not in August, no.
Yeah.
Because
All right.
usually when he's gone in
We'll
August.
see you at the meeting after next.
Good night.
And we'll see you.
Night.
over- Mike.
Yes.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.